A constant fire should burn on the altar. It should never be extinguished. Eish tamid tukad al hamizbeach lo tichbeh. These are the words in the Torah about the sacrifices, the altar. In today's, or the last few days of the Hayom Yom, it's not this week's Torah portion, it's actually the Hayom Yom, the calendar, that the Rebbe wrote with a little inspirational note for every day of the year. The Rebbe quoted this pasuk, this verse, and explained its Hasidic interpretation. Something that's been with me since my childhood, and I loved it. And I will share it with you today. So, he says as follows. He says that Eish Tamid, this literal meaning is that there was an altar on which they offered sacrifices. They offered korbanot every day. The Torah tells us that a fire came from heaven and consumed those sacrifices. A fire, Eish Yarad Milamala, and went onto the Mizbeach. But nevertheless, even though they didn't need a human contribution of fire, there's a biblical requirement that mitzvah lehavi min ha'hedyot. It was a biblical instruction to bring fire from the mundane, from the human experience. So people, the Kohanim, those who serviced the altar, the Mizbeach, needed to bring their own fire, even though there was a godly fire already there. Says the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, he said that his teacher, the Maggid of Mizrich, who was the disciple, the one and only student of the Baal Shem Tov, the main student of the Baal Shem Tov, he taught him this upcoming thought 10 times in order to engrave the idea in his 10 characters of the soul, 10 attributes of the soul, 10 kochot hanefesh. And he said as follows. He said, Eish Tamid, this continual fire, tukad al mizbeach, needs to burn on the altar. He says, today, we don't have the Beit HaMikdash. We have our hearts. We have ourselves. We are the Beit HaMikdash. We are the Holy Temple. The sacrificial services of old mirror and parallel our divine service today. So he says, we are that altar, and we need to bring a fire. Adam ki yakriv mikem. When the Torah talks about sacrifices, we spoke about this previously, it says that when a person will offer a korban, mikem, it has to be from you, from within inside us. The sacrifice has to be an internal sacrifice. It has to be something that we're giving up in our relationship to create a relationship with God. This sacrifice, this offering, says the Alter Rebbe, has to also have a fire. Eish tamid tukad al hamizbeach. It has to be passionate. It has to be enthusiastic. It has to be on fire. You can't just give something, even if it's a sacrifice. You got to do it with enthusiasm, with zest, with zeal. And then the Maggid told the Alter Rebbe, and when you do that, the literal continuation of that pasuk is lo tichbeh. Lo tichbeh means it should not ever be extinguished. But he rephrased it and rearranged the translation. Same words. He said lo, the negativity, tichbeh, it will be extinguished. The things that are undesirable in our lives, the things that are unwanted in our lives, tichbeh, they will be extinguished. So, says the Rebbe, in short, the mitzvah, the biblical commandment, Eish tamid tukad al mizbeach lo tichbeh, there should be a constant flame, constant fire burning on the altar. It should never be extinguished. Hasidically, it also means a person needs to have a constant enthusiasm in their service to God. And when they do, lo tichbeh, the negativity will be extinguished. The negativity in their life will go away. That's the main thought that the Alter Rebbe said that his teacher, the Maggid of Mizrich, taught him 10 times so that it should be etched in his soul. Further on, a little bit down the road, the Tzemach Tzedek, who's the Alter Rebbe's grandson, a third Chabad Rebbe, he said that he elaborated on this idea. And he said that God gave the Torah to Moshe. Because Moshe Rabbeinu was the receiver of the Torah. But Moshe Rabbeinu, they quoted the Midrash, Nahag ba tuv ayin. He conducted himself in a generous manner. He was generous with the Torah and he shared it with us. He didn't keep it for himself. So God gave it to Moshe, and Moshe shared it with us. The Tzemach Tzedek, Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Lubavitch, the original, he said in the Hasidic dynasty, the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, Rabbi Shneir Zalman of Liadi, is the Moshe Rabbeinu of Hasidus. He is the Bible, the biblical author of the Hasidic teachings, the way we have them today. He said the Maggid, the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid transmitted to the Alter Rebbe all the Hasidic pertinent information, and the Alter Rebbe could have kept it for himself, but he didn't. He shared it with all of us. And so he's paralleling, comparing Moshe to the Alter Rebbe. And it is known that just like in the Jewish Torah, there's the written Torah and there's the oral Torah. And so too in the Hasidic tradition, the Tanya is the written Torah of the Hasidic teachings. The Tzemach Tzedek continued, and we'll wrap up with this. The Tzemach Tzedek continued and said that just like in this Hasidic interpretation, that the negativity will be extinguished if you keep a fire, a passion, a zeal burning on your altar, on your internal altar. So too, says the Tzemach Tzedek, to anyone who shares this thought and who shares a Hasidic teaching, says the Alter Rebbe, that when you share something Hasidic, you're gifted from above. You're promised and gifted from above that lo tichbe, your negativity, things that are undesirable in your life will be extinguished and will disappear. That's it for today. I want to do a shout out to my daughter Mariasha Esther Alevsky. Today is her Hebrew birthday. It's her 13th birthday, her bar mitzvah. She should have a good year, a Hasidic year, a holy year, a productive year, and make God proud of her. It's also a English birthday to David Warner, a good friend. God bless you too, and yours, and everyone else in between. Take care. Shabbat Shalom.